Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just near the English Channel. We have created a little BBT enclave here, ashram, where we're concentrating on putting out the sound of Srila Prabhupada's books in the form of our daily readings, and also in the form of audiobooks, which I just found out perhaps tomorrow we'll have the final mastered files of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is quite ecstatic. We're tingling all over. Hare Krishna. Okay, that's the news. Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram from Sri Krishna Lila Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami glorifies the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and explains what it is. Goes like this. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarvalokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Purāṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life heir of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Mannistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhuta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premna rit kantayok spuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we've reached the 8th chapter of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Battle of Kurukshetra is completed. Ashwatthama has been dealt with. The Maharaj Parīkṣit has been saved in the womb of Uttara. And Krishna is preparing to return back to Dwarka. And Queen Kuntī approached him with prayers. And we're right in the middle of those very famous prayers by Queen Kuntī to Lord Krishna. We're beginning with text 26. Janmaishwarya Shruti Shribir Janmaishwarya Shruti Shribir Edamana Madak Puman Naivarhat Abhidantum Vai Tvam Makinchana Gocharam. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Because one who was on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feelings. Purport. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth, and education, and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly. O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely 1. High parentage, 2. Good wealth, 3. High education, and 4. Attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature as much as fever is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is not a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. Excuse me. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. Text 27. Namo kinchanavitaya nivritta gunavritaye atmaramaya shantaya kaivalya pataye namaha. My obeisances are unto you, who are the property of the materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are master of the monists. Purport. A living being is finished as soon as there is nothing to possess. Therefore, a living being cannot be, in the real sense of the term, a renouncer. A living being renounces something for gaining something more valuable. A student sacrifices his childish proclivities to gain better education. A servant gives up his job for a better job. Similarly, a devotee renounces the material world not for nothing, but for something tangible in spiritual value. Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and others, give up their worldly pomp and prosperity for the sake of the service of the Lord. They were big men in the worldly sense. Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis were ministers in the government service in Bengal, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a big zamindar of his time. But they left nothing to gain something superior, but they left everything to gain something superior to what they previously possessed. The devotees are generally without material prosperity, but they have a very secret treasure house in the lotus feet of the Lord. There is a nice story about Srila Sanatana Goswami. He had a touchstone with him, and this stone was left in a pile of refuse. A needy man took it, but later on wondered why the valuable stone. A needy man took it, but later on wondered why the valuable stone was kept in such a neglected place. He therefore asked him for the most valuable thing, and then was given the holy name of the Lord. A kinchana means one who has nothing to give materially. A factual devotee, or Mahatma, does not give anything material to anyone because he has already left all material assets. He can, however, deliver the supreme asset, namely the personality of Godhead, because he is the only property of a factual devotee. The touchstone of Sanatana Goswami, which was thrown in the rubbish, was not the property of the Goswami. Otherwise, it would not have been kept in such a place. This specific example is given for the neophyte devotees just to convince them that material hankerings and spiritual advancement go ill together. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual in relation with the Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between spirit and matter. A spiritual master like Srila Sanatana Goswami, although personally able to see everything as spiritual, set this example for us only, because we have no such spiritual vision. Advancement of material vision or material civilization is a great stumbling block for spiritual advancement. Such material advancement entangles the living being in the bondage of a material body, followed by all sorts of material miseries. Such material advancement is called anartha, or things not wanted. Actually, this is so. In the present context of material advancement, one uses lipstick at a cost of 50 cents, and there are so many unwanted things which are all products of the material conception of life. By diverting attention to so many unwanted things, human energy is spoiled without achievement of spiritual realization, the prime necessity of human life. The attempt to reach the moon is another example of spoiling energy, because even if the moon is reached, the problems of life will not be solved. The devotees of the Lord are called akinchanas because they have practically no material assets. Such material assets are all products of the three modes of material nature. They foil spiritual energy, and thus the less we possess such products of material nature, the more we have a good chance for spiritual progress. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no direct connection with material activities. All his acts and deeds, which are exhibited even in this material world, are spiritual and thus unaffected by the modes of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that all his acts, even his appearance and disappearance in and out of the material world, are transcendental, and that one who knows this perfectly shall not take his birth again in this material world, but will go back to Godhead. The material disease is due to hankering after. The material disease is due to hankering after and lording it over material nature. This hankering is due to an interaction of the three modes of nature, and neither the Lord nor the devotees have attachment for such false enjoyment. Therefore the Lord and the devotees are called Nivritta Gunavritti. The perfect Nivritta Gunavritti is the Supreme Lord, because he never becomes attracted by the modes of material nature, whereas the living beings have such a tendency. Some of them are entrapped by the illusory attraction of material nature. Because the Lord is the property of the devotees, and the devotees are the property of the Lord reciprocally, the devotees are certainly transcendental to the modes of material nature. That is a natural conclusion. Such unalloyed devotees are distinct from the mixed devotees who approach the Lord for mitigation of miseries and poverty, or because of inquisitiveness and speculation. The unalloyed devotees and the Lord are transcendentally attached to one another. For others, the Lord has nothing to reciprocate, and therefore he is called Atma Rama, self-satisfied. Self-satisfied as he is the master of all monists who seek to merge into the existence of the Lord. Such monists merge within the personal effulgence of the Lord, called the Brahmajyoti. But the devotees enter into the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which are never to be misunderstood as material. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 28. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. We'll do the Sanskrit of this verse. Manye twang kalam ishanam anadi nidanam bibum samang chadantam sarvatra bhutanam yan mitak kalihi. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. Purport. Kuntī Devi knew that Krishna was neither her nephew nor an ordinary family member of her paternal house. She knew perfectly well that Krishna is the primeval Lord who lives in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, Paramatma. Another name of the Paramatma feature of the Lord is Kala, or eternal time. Eternal time is the witness of all our actions, good and bad, and thus resultant reactions are destined by Him. It is no use saying that we do not know why and for what we are suffering. it is no use saying that we do not know why and for what we are suffering. We may forget the misdeed for which we may suffer at this present moment, but we must remember that Paramatma is our constant companion, and therefore he knows everything, past, present, and future. And because the Paramatma feature of Lord Krishna destines all actions and reactions, he is the supreme controller also. Without his sanction, not a blade of grass can move. The living beings are given as much freedom as they deserve, and misuse of that freedom is the cause of suffering. The devotees of the Lord do not misuse their freedom, and therefore they are the good sons of the Lord. Others, who misuse freedom, are put into miseries destined by the eternal Kala. The Kala offers the conditioned souls both happiness and miseries. It is all predestined by eternal time. As we have miseries without calling for them, so we have happiness also without asking for it. But because it is all predestined by Kala, no one is therefore either an enemy or a friend of the Lord. Everyone is suffering and enjoying the result of his own destiny. This destiny is made by the living beings in course of social intercourse. Everyone here wants to lord it over the material nature, and thus everyone creates his own destiny under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. He is all-pervading, and therefore he can see everyone's activities. And because the Lord has no beginning or end, he is known also as the eternal time, Kala. Text 29. Naveda katschit bhagabang chikirshitam tave hamam masyanrinam vidambanam nayasya katschit dayitos astikadachit dveshyas chajasmin vishamat matirninam. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Purport. The Lord's mercy upon the fallen souls is equally distributed. He has no one as the specific object of hostility. The very conception of the personality of Godhead as a human being is misleading. His pastimes appear to be exactly like a human being's, but actually they are transcendental and without any tinge of material contamination. He is undoubtedly known as partial to his pure devotees, but in fact, he is never partial, as much as the sun is never partial to anyone. By utilizing the sun rays, even stones sometimes become valuable, whereas a blind man cannot see the sun, although there are profuse sun rays before him. Darkness and light are two opposite conceptions, but this does not mean that the sun is partial in distributing its rays. The sun rays are open to everyone, but the capacities of the receptacles differ. Foolish people think that devotional service is flattering the Lord to get special mercy. Factually, the pure devotees who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are not a mercantile community. I'll repeat that. Factually, the pure devotees who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are not a mercantile community. A mercantile house renders service to someone in exchange for something valuable. The pure devotee does not render service unto the Lord for such exchange, and therefore the full mercy of the Lord is open for him. Suffering men, needy men, inquisitive persons, and philosophers make temporary connections with the Lord to serve a particular purpose. When the purpose is served, there is no more relation with the Lord. A suffering man, if he is pious at all, prays to the Lord for his recovery. But as soon as the recovery is over, in most cases, the suffering man no longer cares to keep any connection with the Lord. The mercy of the Lord is open for him, but he is reluctant to receive it. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee. Those who are completely against the service of the Lord are considered to be in abject darkness. Those who ask for the Lord's favor only at the time of necessity are partial recipients of the mercy of the Lord, and those who are 100% engaged in the service of the Lord are full recipients of the mercy of the Lord. Such partiality in receiving the Lord's mercy is relative to the recipient, and it is not due to the partiality of the all-merciful Lord. When the Lord descends to this material world, by his all-merciful energy, he plays like a human being, and therefore it appears that the Lord is partial to his devotees only, but that is not a fact. Despite such apparent manifestation of partiality, his mercy is equally distributed. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all persons who died in the fight before the presence of the Lord got salvation without the necessary qualifications, because death before the presence of the Lord purifies the passing soul from the effects of all sins, and therefore the dying man gets a place somewhere in the transcendental abode. Somehow or other, if someone puts himself open in the sun rays, he is sure to get the requisite benefit, both by heat and by ultraviolet rays. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Lord is never partial. It is wrong for the people in general to think of him as partial. Text 30. Janma karma jivishvatman ajasya karturatmanaha tiryan nrish shishu yadushu tad atyanta vidambanam. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work through, though you are inactive, that you take birth, though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend amongst animals, men, sages, and aquatics. This is very bewildering. Purport. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord are not only bewildering, but also apparently contradictory. In other words, they are all inconceivable to the limited thinking power of the human being. The Lord is the all-pervading supersoul of all existence, and yet he appears in the form of a boar amongst the animals, in the form of a human, in the form of a human being, as Rama, Krishna, and so on, in the form of a rishi, like Narayana, and in the form of an aquatic, like a fish. Yet it is said that he is unborn, and he has nothing to do. In the Shruti mantra it is said that the Supreme Brahman has nothing to do. No one is equal to or greater than him. He has manifold energies, and everything is performed by him perfectly, by automatic knowledge, strength, and activity. All these statements prove, without any question, that the Lord's activities, forms, and deeds are all inconceivable to our limited thinking power. And because He is inconceivably powerful, everything is possible in Him. Therefore, no one can calculate Him exactly. Every action of the Lord is bewildering to the common man. He cannot be understood by the Vedic knowledge, but He can be easily understood by the pure devotees, because they are intimately related with Him. The devotees therefore know for certain that although He appears amongst the animals, He is not an animal, and that He is also not a man, or a rishi, or a fish. He is eternally the Supreme Lord in all circumstances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 31. Gopyan dade tvayikrita gasidamatabat yate deshashru kalilan janasambраmaksham bhaktram niniyap bhayabhavanayastitasya samang mihoya yati bir atpiyad bibeti. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Purport. Here is another example of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the Supreme and at the same time a plaything in the presence of His pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only, and while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of His devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously, out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude, but the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider Him one of them. They do not consider Him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider Him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, He accepts the reproaches of His fiancés more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest His eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan, as an attraction for the people in general, He displayed a unique picture of subordination before His foster mother, Yashoda. The Lord, in His naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing these contents to His friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in an ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep, just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kuntī Devi because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. She is feared, often, by fear personified. Yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kuntī was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way, and Kuntī, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental, maternal, and filial love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. Text 32. Kechit ahur ajam jatam punya shlokasya kirtaye yado priyasyamana bhaya yado priyasyanan bhayaya yado priyasyavanya bhaye malayasyeva chandanam. Some say that the unborn has taken birth for the glorification of the great pious king. And others say that you took birth to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Himalaya hills. Purport. Because the Lord's appearance in this material world is bewildering, there are different opinions about the birth of the unborn. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he takes his birth in the material world, although he is the Lord of all creations and he is unborn. So there cannot be any denial of the birth of the unborn, because he himself establishes the truth. But still, there are different opinions as to why he takes his birth. That is also declared in the Bhagavad Gita. He appears by his own internal potency to re-establish the principles of religion and to protect the pious and to annihilate the impious. That is the mission of the appearance of the unborn. Still, it is said that the Lord is there. Still, it is said that the Lord is there to glorify the pious King Yudhishthira. Lord Sri Krishna certainly wanted to establish the kingdom of the Pandavas for the good of all in the world. When there is a pious king ruling over the world, the people are happy. When the ruler is impious, the people are unhappy. In the age of Kali, in most cases the rulers are impious, and therefore the citizens are also continuously unhappy. But in the case of democracy, the impious citizens themselves elect their representative to rule over them, and therefore they cannot blame anyone for their unhappiness. Maharaj Nala was also celebrated as a great pious king, Punya Shloka, but he had no connection with Lord Krishna. Therefore, here Punya Shloka means Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was glorified by Lord Krishna. Krishna had also glorified King Yadu, having taken birth in the family of that king. Thus, Krishna is known as Yadava, Yaduvira, Yadunandana, and so on, although the Lord is always independent of such obligation. He is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Himalaya hills. Trees can grow anywhere and everywhere, yet because the sandalwood trees grow mostly in the area of the Himalaya hills, the name sandalwood and the Himalaya hills are interrelated. Repeated. Trees can grow anywhere and everywhere, yet because the sandalwood trees grow mostly in the area of the Himalaya hills, the same sandalwood, the name sandalwood and the Himalaya hills are interrelated. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Lord is ever unborn, like the sun, and yet he appears in this material world in the same way that the sun rises on the eastern horizon. As the sun is never the sun of the eastern horizon, so the Lord is no one's son, but is the Father of everything that be. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. What purports? Okay, we'll stop there. It's a little after 7:50, but we didn't start until 7:10, so we're okay. Now we'll turn the stage over to the assembled sages, wherever you are, and request you to reflect upon any point that stuck out in your mind among all the wonderful points that we just heard. Hare Krishna. Cheers.
First is from Rati Manjari.
Hare Krishna Rati.
She says, Jai Guru Maharaj, back in the enclave.
Yes. Forever, I hope. Or for as long as I live.
And from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribo Gopakanya Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, thank you for your daily reading service of Srila Prabhupada's books. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all assembled devotees.
All glories to His divine grace and his devotees. Haribo.
And from Sudevi Dasi.
Yes, Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for this daily nectar.
Thank you for your ears, which make the daily readings possible. Hare Krishna.
And from Braj Balaba.
Haribo Braj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to His divine grace.
So text 28 is interesting because it means when the so-called innocent experience an unthinkable misery, this is not the result of a cruel God, as some may think. It is the reaction for their past misdeeds, hard for some to grasp.
Yes, impossible for most to grasp. Yes, definitely. But no, if one is actually thoughtful, how can he think anything else? We see it every day. A criminal does something horrible and he's caught and punished and sometimes killed. And nobody, blames God for that. It's so practical, actually. It's common sense. The Krishna conscious philosophy is common sense. But one has to know what the laws of nature are. Otherwise, we live in ignorance. That's a fact, as Kuntī has been explaining very clearly. But what is really bewildering is what's been described in verse after verse by Queen Kuntī, that Krishna is born, but he's unborn, and so on and so forth. Hare Krishna.
And more from Braj Vallabha.
Yes, Braj.
This is another point. So many people approach God as a gumball machine. I give you something, and then you, Krishna, must give back.
Yes.
And when done, they are gone. It's a cheap thing.
Yes. That is the difference. Therefore, the pure devotees, even if they have material things, they don't think of those things as being theirs. They think it belongs to Krishna. And therefore, Krishna takes care of them, wherever they are, whatever they're doing. Whether they're mendicants with nothing, or whether they're living in a palace like Yudhishthira, he takes care of them completely. Those who are materialistic, they think that this is, unfair because some are poor and some are rich, but it's not. It's according to the capacity of the devotee to love Krishna. But in general, it is a fact that, as Queen Kuntī said, Janmaishvarya Shukta Shribir, that the opulences that everyone is after in this material world usually distract the conditioned souls from being able to pray to Krishna sincerely, with feeling, with deep feeling. Therefore, Prabhupada always used to say, you should chant your rounds like a baby crying helplessly for its mother. Then you get full benefit from the name. Hare Krishna. Or better yet to say, you can perceive the full benefit you get from the name.
Subhara Rajagopal.
Hare Krishna Subhara Rajagopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, and please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for reading the Grantharaj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and glorious purports by Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, believe me. Each time I read this, especially out loud like this in public and online, it's like I'm reading it for the first time. It's amazing how ever fresh and new and wonderful it is. We can never get tired of hearing these books. If you get tired of hearing these books, you're not hearing the books. Hare Krishna.
He quoted this, Subhara. Those who are completely against the service of the Lord are considered to be in abject darkness. Those who ask for the Lord's favor only at the time of necessity are partial recipients of the mercy of the Lord, and those who are cent per cent engaged in the service of the Lord are full recipients of the mercy of the Lord.
Yes.
What a definition of atheist, karmi, and pure devotee.
Perfect. Yep, perfect definition. And easy to understand. Prabhupada's language and purports are easy to understand, and that is his greatness. He can make even the most complex philosophical points easy to understand.
From Anandamurti Devidasi.
Yes, Anandamurti.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Only Krishna can be approached by those who are materially exhausted. I am still trying to get some material benefit which is temporary. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyway, you're using it in Krishna service. That's fine.
And from Vilas Manjari.
Yes, Vilas Manjari.
Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
The point that really struck me today was about death in the presence of the Lord, such as in Kurukshetra. All the persons who died in the Lord's presence got salvation without the necessary qualifications. Prabhupada explains that the presence of the Lord purifies the passing soul from the effects of all sins, and therefore the dying man gets a place somewhere in the transcendental abode, just as somehow putting oneself in the sunlight one gets heat and light.
Yes, that's beautiful. And the story you told about how your father passed away, and the Lord's name and the Lord are actually non-different. They have the full. The Lord's name has the full potency of the Lord. So, if one's hearing the Lord's name when he passes away, he also gets that benefit. Hare Krishna.
From Krishnangi Mulder.
Krishnangi Mulder, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you Maharaj. Hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so soothing, a sangha of sanity amongst this mixed up world of suffering.
Oh yes, and especially nowadays. But always, yes.
And from Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. What a nice thing to say. Certainly I hope to stay under your divine shelter as long as you live, and also after that. Thank you for blessing me with your daily protective readings.
Hare Krishna. So be it.
And from Subbarao.
Subbarao, Hare Krishna.
He says, thank you Maharaj. It is easier to understand when you read it and we listen.
Yes, and if you explain it to others, it's even easier to realize it. Hearing and explaining is more important than reading. That's it. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, thank you very much for those lovely reflections and feelings of appreciation for the daily readings and for Srila Prabhupada's books. Thank you so much. So we'll start tomorrow at text 33 and bid you a good evening. Oh, we have someone else, yes.
It's okay, there's something more from Rati Manjari.
Yes, please. We missed some from last night, actually. I felt bad about that.
Tonight we heard about how generally the devotees of the Lord do not have many material possessions, as material opulence is considered a type of fever. Many Christians would consider themselves blessed when opulent. Do we devotees also have a conception like that?
No, we don't have that conception. It's called in America, they call it prosperity religion. That what you're trying to get is wealth, and if you get wealth, that means you're favored by the Lord. But we just heard just the opposite from Kuntī. We don't have a conception like that. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was as opulent as the king of heaven. His opulences were inconceivable to us. And once he said to the Lord that he wanted to be the most famous, richest man in the world. And Krishna said, "What is that? My devotees don't want that. Why are you saying that?" He said, "Yes, because when people ask me how you did that, they'll be so worshipful of me, and when they ask that, I'll say, Krishna did it. If you want this, then you surrender to Krishna because he can do anything. And in that way, I'm doing this so that you will be glorified. But that is rare. That is rare, and it's a special pastime of the Lord. But there are, Ambarish Maharaj was opulent like that. Many kings that were great devotees of the Lord. But generally speaking, it's no hard and fast rules on this. Prabhupada was put into abject poverty after he left his household life and retired and then took sannyas. He practically didn't have but a couple of pieces of cloth to his name. And yet when he was tested because of his undaunting, unyielding devotional service and desire to fulfill the mission of his spiritual master and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then Krishna, when he was tested, Krishna gave him everything. He was more opulent than anyone. He had buildings everywhere and devotees, loving devotees, greeting him everywhere he went, more than anyone. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, how they're using that all the time? Maybe they're trying to interfere with the reading. What do you think? Maybe. Possible. Hare Krishna.
Rati Manjari had a question. How should devotees view our opulences?
They are given to us by Krishna to use in his service. And if you use everything that you have in Krishna's service, and it's beneficial to your service and increases your service, then he'll give you more and more. And if it's not needed, or if it interferes with your devotion, in other words, if your desire and your expression of love for Krishna in terms of devotional service become weaker when you get more opulence, then it's not to be accepted as Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada told us that actually directly. Opulence received in which one does not become attached to it, but one becomes more devoted to the Lord, is the mercy of the Lord. It means it's given to you by Krishna. But if it distracts you from Krishna and takes you away from remembering Krishna, then it is sent to you by Maya. Hare Krishna.
There's one more comment from Vilas Manjari.
Haribo Vilas Manjari.
Oh, Rati Manjari said, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Can I add, my father's funeral was a few days ago. Just as when he was dying, no one knew what to say, so all that could be heard was chanting of the holy names. Again at his funeral, as his coffin left the church, a friend and I sung kirtan, and again everyone went quiet. All that could be heard was the holy names. All glories to Srila Prabhupada who brought the holy names to us.
Yes. All glories to his divine grace. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan movement. Thank you very much. Boy, am I glad we waited so that we could hear those last points because they were wonderful. Thank you, Rati Manjari. Thank you, Vilas Manjari. Hare Krishna. All right. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic, as Kuntī Devi shows us how to pray to the Lord. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.